Hey YouTube, it's Craig with Casworks Woodworking. I'm here with my mom, not in my shop. I got to come down here. We're at Virginia Beach. And spend some time together. It's been nice. It actually went over the week of the 4th of July, Independence Day. So we got to see the fireworks. That was kind of cool. I'll show you some shots of that. That was neat from her balcony and from a balcony farther down the hallway. We got to see, I don't know, 7 or 8 different sets of fireworks going on. So that was a lot of fun. We got to spend some time with some other folks that also live in the building. They came out and watched them with us. It was kind of cool because they actually brought a hand mixer for ice cream. They were making their own ice cream, so that was kind of fun to watch them. We caught up with them actually just today and asked them how it turned out. They said it was really good, so peppermint ice cream. That was kind of cool. But during my time down here and talking with Mom, we were kind of talking about some of the different things that she's done and made, and I kind of realized, she's the original, I guess, maker of the Strickland family as long as I've known her, been alive basically, and can remember. She's always made things, whether it's been sewing, string art, carving. So I thought we'd kind of have a nice time talking about some of those things. I would assume, Mom, that probably the first thing maybe that you ever did was actually the sewing.
Yes. I started when I was about 6th grade.
Oh, so you started. Now, was that hand sewing, or did you actually work on a machine?
Oh, no, I worked on a machine. And then by the time I was in 8th grade, I made all my graduation outfit. I designed a dress that it was pale green, and then it had an overlay of, anyway, sort of a pattern taffeta that went over it. Then it had, for the dance, it had an overskirt, and anyway, it had a bunch of pieces. So
That's
anyway,
kind of cool. Now, did Grams actually get you into that, or how did that start?
no, I got myself into it because after my dad died, my mom didn't have much money.
Okay.
And so she tried to make some things.
Yeah.
And I can remember her making this pink velveteen vest that she hadn't put the lining in it. And it scratched like crazy. Anyway, so
No.
I began to think, although she had made us early on, maybe some mother and daughter dresses. And anyway, I just decided, I could do better than this.
Okay.
And bless her heart, she sent me to some sewing lessons at the Singer store.
Mm-hmm.
And I went for about 6 weeks. I have no idea what I made, but it gave me the basics.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, obviously things that I might have done in the shop, tools-wise, Dad would have been my influence when it came to various power tools, although he was still mostly on the mechanic side and those types of things, electrical work, maybe cars and so forth. But I guess, obviously, I'd have to say that any creativity that I might have developed, that would have come from you. And I wouldn't have even probably thought about that until later in life and some of the things I've done. But, I mean, we've got some samples of some of the things that you've done through the years. So we talked about the sewing, and you've been doing that, almost all your life. But when it came to some of the artistic things that you started doing, what was the first thing that kind of piqued your interest and you started doing things that we may have seen in the home?
Well, of course, when we moved to Hawaii, uh, my mom, she had a everybody had aloha shirts and moo-moos and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, but those were pretty expensive, on a military salary. I mean, we lived nicely, but, you didn't have a whole lot of money for extras.
Sure.
So I made aloha shirts.
Yeah, I remember those.
And then I got into making clergy shirts.
You actually had some matching shirts that you had made for.
Oh,
It
yeah.
wasn't didn't Dad have one too, or just
Yeah,
me and Scott?
No, it was be father sons.
Okay.
2 sons shirts.
Okay.
And and maybe I would have a muumuu to match, or
Sure.
more likely not.
Yeah.
But and then I got into making clergy shirts with the white collar.
Yeah.
And anyway, we actually got a little business going. I can't remember now. It seems to me I made them for $10.
Okay.
Ridiculous. Anyway, and we'd send them all over the country. We'd get orders, because
Boy.
through the church it just really
I
passed.
don't know that I had any idea or
Yeah.
recollect that. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
I can remember making a man 6 shirts, I think, one for every season in the church.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
neat. That's
so
neat.
anyway, and the clergy shirts, I didn't probably keep on. I sewed a lot of things for the house,
Mhm.
and I also, I don't know if anybody remembers the knit T-shirts and you'd stitch in the ditch, and anyway, it was just a phrase, and so I made the boys T-shirts because if you had boys,
Sure.
they would wear those, but not
Okay.
other stuff.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't, I worked for about 15 years, and so things fell off. But I think what I started was I learned, it was sort of like the craft of the year.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what was the first thing that you did? Is that one of these things that we have here?
No, the carving.
Oh, the carving. You did that first before the string art? I thought that was.
No, I guess you're wrong. I'm wrong. Okay, I did string art,
Okay.
macrame.
Right. So the string art you did, like we have a ship up in Maine.
Mhm.
You did didn't you do an owl? Don't I recall an owl?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and I did things actually for Christmas presents, so you do it for a year,
Okay.
and you'd build up to
Sure.
Christmas, and you'd give them all as presents, and of course the next year you had to figure out something different.
Right.
So then the next year it was all macrame stuff.
Yeah. Well, in which of course we have an example of that up in Maine. We have that lamp that you made.
Yeah,
with
it's sort of like a Tiffany shade.
Yeah.
Oh, it's made with, yarn, and then I did some ceramic things that went around it too.
And then it had
And-
the tassels
Yeah,
on the
of
bottom.
course, actually, the ceramic things came because instead of making the lamp out of jute, and of course, I cut to the pattern, I ended up making the top tier, the next tier, and the next tier, but I really didn't have enough yarn to
Mhm.
make the next tier,
Right.
and then put the tassels on the bottom. So I ended up,
You had to be a little creative and
Yeah.
figure out what to do with the space.
and meanwhile a friend was sort of making her jute one along with me, but she ended up thinking, oh, the ceramic was a good idea, and since we were up in Maine, anyway, we went to a shop, and she put all red, white, and blue ships around hers,
Okay.
which really looked neat, and hung it over her dining room table.
Okay. That's cool.
So,
So at what point? Well, these pictures here that
oh,
we have.
cruel,
What is this called?
cruel,
Cruel.
Crewel.
Okay. And so what is the premise? What are you actually doing when you
Well,
when you do
it's
these?
different stitches. Now
Okay.
this has some padding in it too.
To
but-
kind of give it like a
but each-
three-dimensional
Each
appearance.
one of these stitches, has a name for it.
Oh, okay.
And it's
It's
been
been a while, huh?
it's been a while. You know, I'm not sure I remember the stitches, but anyway, these are knots, and anyway, you follow a pattern and a satin stitch, and you know all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And it turns out, and so
Yeah,
this,
see,
this is a set.
she's got a set of three. She's got two of these small ones, and then she's got this much larger one, and they hang on the wall, actually back behind where we're sitting. But they're gorgeous. This is nice because it's got some. This actually has some extra color in it too, so I like that one. That really gives it some extra depth. So when you do something like this, that is always meant to be in a frame, or is that just something you decided to do with it?
Well, it could be a pillow top, or
Oh, okay.
you know.
Okay.
But I hated to have people rubbing up against
Well,
it.
yeah, you're right. I could understand that.
You spend all that time on it, and I mean, and that took me a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did counted cross stitch too, at the point in time where I could see and do the small stuff.
Sure.
But you know, and I made all kinds of things, Christmas ornaments, and you know, pictures, and I still have one that I'm working on and have been working on for at least 15 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
So,
It's time to finish that thing, Mom.
well, you guys can find somebody else to finish it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then, probably the last craft I got into was, I think they called it country carving.
Yeah, see, here she's got a couple examples. These
And
are up in the kitchen here at her apartment.
And that I went to, a gal taught a class on it, and those.
That was specifically for these two, and
And-
that's kind of what kickstarted you in doing
Yeah,
it?
and so we each, you know, everybody in the class made those things, and you know, it was a good class because it taught you how to. I mean, some of the things you made were more flat with just the grooves and
Yeah.
stuff, but this taught you depth perception and how to get things so they look more real and and got the rounded and then you'd learn to paint, which I really had never done any painting before. First of all,
Well, especially to do kind of the shading to get it just right.
yeah, I mean, actually, what you do is you buy a pine plank, and cut it, and you gouge it out, and then after you get everything done, you run a sort of a wash over it to color this part, and then you end up having to paint this and then put another wash over it.
Sure. Well, and the thing that these were always appealing to me because I seem to be drawn to wood, and the thing that's cool about these is the texture that they have them, because especially in fine furniture, you're always looking for that smooth, polished finish. But the nice thing about these, because items in real life have texture to them, that you don't have to work to that and that fine finish, and the texture is actually more appealing than if that was all smooth. So that's kind of cool. You've got a couple more things. Well, actually, let's see. You've got a few things that we have up in Maine. You've got a plaque that we have in the bathroom. I'll be able to show examples of those. You've also got that lobster that you made. We were searching. I asked everybody. No one seems to know where that clock is. She made a clock, carved it, and then put all the stuff for the clock, the face of the clock, and then put one of the mechanical clocks in it to make it a functional clock. And it used to be at their house in North Carolina, but
Actually, I made two of them.
Oh, did you make two?
One for my mother.
Okay.
And I think one for B.
Oh, okay. So that's what happened. The one that was your mother's ended up back with you guys, but
yeah.
I wonder what happened to it, because they didn't find it up in Maine. Scott doesn't have it. Steve doesn't have it. So I don't know. It's a mystery.
Well, maybe it's just stayed with the house. Who knows?
Well, that could be.
Yeah.
That could be. I guess we could check with
Yeah.
the friends at
And
some
then the
point.
other thing I made for everybody is all my friends would have whatever their name was, kitchen, and then it was a whole pile of vegetables that was in it, and it was really neat. And
That was a carving, you mean?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
and then in the background, behind whoever's kitchen,
Yeah.
you would paint it the color that would go with their kitchen.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Well, Mom, I just want to thank you for this time. I thought it was kind of cool, just kind of reminisce the things that you've done through the course of your life. And like I said, you always had a lot of creativity in the various things that you've done. And I appreciate the fact that we can share this with YouTube. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, if you like this video, you can subscribe, click the bell so you can always get updates and share with your friends. Appreciate it. Have a great week.